Good morning. Today I'm going to show you an advance in the investigation called Review of Cyclic Steam Injection with Flue Gas as an Economic Environmental Alternative Valle Medio Magdalena Case Study developed for me, Luis Miguel Salas-Chia, with the help of María Isabel Sandoval Martinez and Samuel Fernando Muñoz Navarro. As an introduction, the heavy oil production methods that are commonly used are called methods, solvent methods, and thermal methods. These heavy oils is a type of oil that have the oil and gas industry that are related to those fluid that they have a higher viscosities and the mobility of them are so low. So that's why they are called heavy oil. So about the cold methods are developed or are associated with those methods that can be produced the heavy oil without any addition of any chemical agent or any addition of an energy process too. So between the cold methods or the principal cold methods exist the shops, the water injection, the surface mining, and the GAHD. The shops is doing the cold heavy oil production with sand that are related to the production normally of this heavy oil. However, due to the higher viscosity and the low mobility, they are producing with the sands just around the wellbore. So that's why have this name. The water injection could be used for too, but in so many cases, in a few cases, due to the water injection, could be not in too much help due to the mobility ratio that could be achieved with this type of crude. The crude, the surf mining could be developed, but in some cases, due to there are restrictions due to the law for doing these surface minings, and most of the heavy oil productions or heavy oil reservoirs could be not in the limit like allowed by the government, so it could be just a case in just an option in some a few cases, and the GHD is doing something related as the SARS-GD, but without any thermal method associated. About the the solvent method could be the SAIP or the BAPEX that is using surfactant and alkali and polymer for making changes into the fluids in the reservoir, and the BAPEX is using solvent into the processes. About the thermal method is making the injection of energy in this way, the thermal energy into the formation and helping to the changes into the heavy oil properties for making a better extraction or better production of it. Into this one, on between these three methods, the thermal methods are the most commonly used in all the oil and gas industry, and more used is the steam injection processes. So an steam injection or the heavy oil reserves distribution in the worldwide, and the principal of them are located in South America, and Colombia is not an exception of this behavior, due to in 2018 there was a 42% of the heavy oil production in Colombia uh, associated with this type of resources, the heavy oil production. So that's why Colombia needs to know how make a production or how improve the production of this type of reservoir in the country. So the steam injection process is making an injection on a saturated steam into the formation, and these processes making a development of a type of zone. For example, the principal or the first one is the steam zone and is located near the wellbore that where the injection is made. This injection or this steam zone is moving through the reservoir, and during the during its trip due to the changes in the pressure and also the temperature profiles around the formation, makes another zones, for example, the volatile zone, the condensated zone, that are fronts that can make different processes or different production mechanisms, as we are going to see next. And also there is a zone characterized for being unaltered jet, so it's called virgin zone or unaltered zone. And then is the production zone or the production well, where we can produce this type of oil. So then this representation is for an steam drive, or when the steam injection is making in a continuous way, but not all the reservoirs can be applied for these processes from the beginning. So one of them have to be make a stimulation called cyclic steam stimulation. In this type of stimulation, there is a wellbore or a well when in which all the three processes are made. The first process of the first stage is called the injection process, when this steam is injected into the reservoir for around several weeks commonly. Then is making the second stage, that is the soaking. But in this soaking stage, the reservoir or the well is shut in, and the energy transferred to the reservoir is transforming the heavy oil production or the heavy oil resources that are just near the wellbore. Then this time could be like a few weeks, and then the production is when this heavy oil crude that have new properties is going to be produced, and could take months, and is making a new cycle of these processes of these three stages until they reach the normally a curve of coal production, or when there is no more rent into the technical economical way. So in these processes, there are oil recovery mechanisms, as we can see, and they are associated to the temperature. For example, at temperatures between 200 Celsius degrees, they are associated to processes with the steam injection. They have the bigger representation is made by the viscosity reduction. So in this process, the viscosity reduction is the principal way, or the principal factor that have effect over the oil recovery in its original oil in place. However, there are other ones, for example, the moisture immiscible, the gas insulation, the zinc distillation, and the thermal expansion. But this increase or this participation are too low against the viscosity reduction participation. But there is not just physical ones, there is also chemical processes that occurs in these techniques that are, for example, one of them is the aquathermolysis reactions, where the change of carbon sulfur carbon can be broken, and also the thermal cracking, as where the change from carbon nitrogen carbon oxygen carbon and carbon can be broken. There are difference between the one of them convert from the liquid phase to solid phase, that is the thermal cracking, and the other one does just convert it into gaseous phase. So about the technique screening, that is the steam injection and the cyclic steam stimulation, has been parameters, for example, the thickness, the depth, the porosity, permeability, API gravity, and viscosity. And these technique screening are applying, for example, for our country, that is Colombia, and its basin that is called Valle Medio Magdalena. About the processes, that is the flue gas. The flue gas is a an type of hybrid technique that is made with the addition of just not steam, is made the addition of this flue gas that was obtained from the generators of the steam in the surface, and they help into the process with the maintenance of pressure, and also with doing like a recycle of these vapors of these gases that are too dangerous to the environment and can be helping into a circular economy. So we do a literature review in this type of. In the first column is there are the authors. In the second one, the type of a steam injection process made. The first one is the steam drive. The second one is the cyclic steam stimulation. The type of gas used into the experiments, that is CO2 and nitrogen, and the flue gas. So the flue gas is made by principally two main gases, that is the carbon dioxide and nitrogen, in a bigger proportion of carbon dioxide, and that it could be depends about the type of vapor steam generator that could be useful, and also about the processes for cleaning and for the sweetening of this flue gas before taking into consideration for making like an injection into the process. So the other one, or the other column, is the scheme, the injection scheme, that could be pre-injection, co-injection, post-injection. The pre-injection is make an injection of this flue gas before the injection of the steam. The co-injection is making both at the same time, and the post-injection is making the injection of this flue gas before the making the injection of the steam. About the scope is this investigation of this research was made into laboratory, and also if this laboratory data was simulated into a commercial simulator, and then was related and was analyzed the difference between them. Also, if there was observed if there is an increase in the recovery factor or not of the processes. For example, the first one have an increase, but most of them have an increase in this recovery factor. However, one of those have the abnormal behavior, that is a decrease in this recovery factor. So the important factors that we observed during this literature review, they are associated to three main factors. The first one, the porous media. The other one are related to the fluid interaction. One of those fluid is the principal one, that is the oil that could be that are located into the reservoir, and the other one is the fluid injected. In this case, is the steam that have to be made investigation or researched into laboratory for knowing how could be the process of the interaction between them. So in the literature, there is observed that the interaction between the flue gas and the oil could increase the activity of the water shift gas reactions, helping into the increase into the quality of the crude oil, due to the higher presence of carbon dioxide into the reaction for the injection of this component into the current or into the stream of flue gas. About the steam, could be observed that there have an interaction between the temperature of saturation into the processes, and also the change it into enthalpy and entropy of all the process. And about the porous media, there are not too much information required or related to this one. And the principal investigation was observed that could be a lower absorption of one of those gases, for example, the carbon dioxide into the surface on some clays, and on some, for example, sand, it could be, and there is no more interaction between this agent, that is the flue gas, and into the physicochemical properties of the porous media. So about Colombia, that is our case of study of Valle Medio Magdalena Basin in Colombia. For example, these are like the pilots of some enhanced oil recovery processes. And important for this investigation are the cyclic steam injection that was made in coconut, teca, jasmine, and nari. And this means that there are processes doing the steam injection recovery techniques. So that means that we can do these processes of injecting the flue gas due to there are precedents of injection of steam into this Valle Medio Magdalena Basin. Also, we need to know that there are two principal important factors for this investigation or this literature review. The first one is that the production of the steam injection or the steam for making an injection into the reservoir generate a lot of gases. Then one of those are the flue gas, and those are not good for the environment. So making like a capture and making a processes and treatment of this flue gas for doing or for using, for example, as an additive to the steam into the process uh, could be a helpful way to decrease this emission of gases to the atmosphere from the oil and gas industry. And also these are related with the circular economy that could help that using this type of waste or dangerous materials or substances, doing a treatment and making them like a raw materials for helping through another processes. In this case, we generate it and also we can reuse it into another way for making an improvement of the process that we have right now. Also, is necessary to uh, indicate that Colombia have a decrease in their gas reserve, and these gas reserve are mainly used for the population. So the decrease in the gas reserve that can be used for steam injection needs of it's a need for making replacement or making like investigation or research in hybrid techniques that can involve the use of another gases and another processes that can increase the quality of this uh, process that like the steam injection is, and they can that this process or this methodology that is the steam injection have show that they have a great qualities into the production of this type of heavy oil of type of oil that is the heavy oil, and that in Colombia there are a lot of reserves, and there is a need to making a better production, but without affecting too much the environmental and doing a circular economy in all the processes and all the ways that they can be doing. So about the conclusion, the cyclic steam and the flue gas injection is a viable alternative for enhanced oil recovery in Colombia due to the presence of heavy oil crude oils, also the shallow reservoirs and reservoirs heterogeneity due to it generate energy transfer through the system by steam and mass transfer through the carbon dioxide and a pressure maintenance through the nitrogen that can be shown in the pressure profiles in all the processes during the injection of this flue gas. Also, that the most of the research apply carbon dioxide and or flue gas using co-injection scheme. Very few studies are corroborated with numerical simulators. However, more than this 90% of these studies have a positive impact of the recovery factor, and this is a important factor into this investigation due to the available viability. Uh, it could be related with the viability alternative as an enhanced oil recovery into a technique by the hybrid way. So the last one, the use of the flue gas as a recovery method could be used as a technique to reduce the consumption of natural gas, which is used to generate the steam in the CSS process, that is the cyclic steam stimulation. Likewise, it'll help in the reduction of gas emissions such as carbon dioxide too. So these are the acknowledgement to the enhanced or recovery group or Grupo de Recovery Mejorado, GRM of the Universidad de Santander in Colombia.